Yo, what is going on, guys? One more here bringing guys a brand new Busch Gardens video, and for the first time, and it feels like a long time, we're doing a sit-down video here at the desk because I've been to the park a lot, and I'm actually going back this week for opening. I just want to make this video and just talk about Loch Ness Monster, The Legend Lives On, which I really not even going to tag on The Legend Lives On. It was a nice add-on for like the announcement and for like the beginning, but I feel like ever since they started reopening, it's just Loch Ness Monster. Like, The Legend Lives On is like almost like a tagline for promotion. It's the Loch Ness Monster. The Legend Lives On is not on the sign. It's Loch Ness Monster, okay? I spoke about Loch Ness Monster and my experience with it in the video, but that was a lot of bias as it had just happened and I was kind of all in the moment. I met the park president, which was awesome. So I was just really hyped up on adrenaline from that. So I've taken a couple days to decompress and really just think about what happened. And I have to say, guys, I stick to what I said. Now, what I will say is for you guys that haven't ridden it yet, and if you are spoiling yourself, which you shouldn't do, but if you are spoiling yourself and watching POVs on YouTube of the ride, let me just tell you, videos don't do it justice. The camera, because they're pretty stationary on the ride, isn't picking up everything you see. So let me just tell you that if you're feeling underwhelmed from the videos, because I've watched some of the videos and I'm like, these videos capture nothing of what it's like on the ride, just throw that out the door. Trust me, because it is a full 360 experience. You got to look way to your left. You got to look way to your right. You got to look all around you when you're on the ride. It's not just look straight in front of you. One little asterisk I'll put here is they haven't, when I wrote it, it was preview. They did not have the extended queue open, nor was the Loch Ness Monster statue there. But I have a really good feeling about both of those, so I feel comfortable enough to talk about Loch Ness Monster and how Busch Gardens did on it. Now, the only thing I don't know about the monster is if it moves or not. We don't know. We've seen the picture that Busch Gardens posted of the backside of it, and obviously I got footage of it underneath the tarp, and we all kind of knew what it was, and the park president heavily suggested what it was when I spoke to him. I'm super excited to see that in person on Friday. In the extended queue, I've watched some videos from media events. From what I see, they've added a couple of things here and there, but it's generally the same because there's already a well-themed extended queue, one of the better ones in the park aside from Verbolten. It wasn't a whole lot they needed to do. I think they added just a couple of stuff from like the 40th anniversary from a few years ago, and just a couple of little items that kind of for Busch Gardens fans will spark your mind like, oh, that's cool. I have faith that the extended queue is just as good as it's been, and it's even better. Obviously, they added the old suit, which is really the old diver suit, which was a nice touch. I remember seeing that when I was a little kid. So to see that back is an awesome add-on. Let's talk about the experience of the ride. Like, I can just talk about it right here, not all the adrenaline from the park. They outdid themselves, in my personal opinion, because you would expect something along these lines maybe for a new ride, and based off how they've done rides recently, not really, you wouldn't really expect it either. But for a retheme of an already existing ride, a ride that already has a decent line, especially on busy days, because just from the get-go, when you walk into the station, they had these cool Loch Ness Monster posters, and then you have the big cases with all the artifacts in it, and you get some old country artifacts. You got like Loch Ness Monster sighting artifacts, which is also awesome. But the big thing, and it's not by mistake, you got all of these like little Scotland pieces, the Loch Ness Monster, all this stuff connecting it to Loch Ness Monster, and out of the blue, a very big and very red Big Bad Wolf poster, and they've added, and they painted it. Obviously, it was that very brown, you know, just regular wood look, and now they painted it with that almost like a swampy green look, which I think is a really nice touch. I think it really stands out, especially on the sign when you first walk down the hill. You know, a lot of people are kind of sad that the old sign is gone. And I mean, yeah, there's some nostalgia to have with the brown and blue sign with the Loch Ness Monster in the middle. But I think the new sign is really awesome, and for just whole revamped version of the ride, I think it's really nice. And one thing that they've really done on the Busch Gardens map and the building that you leave when you leave the ride, it's made like a castle. But nothing inside of it really made it feel like a castle. And I always kind of forgot that it was supposed to be a castle until you're on Griffin and you're at the little brake run before the second drop and you're like, oh yeah, that is a nice little castle looking building. But you always forget about it because nothing inside of it really shows that in your mind. It was just a big yellow room with the mural. But what they've done now is absolutely awesome. They've actually gone back and they put big castle doors where the mural used to be. Ground is stone. They painted stones onto the walls, and you had the little docking things where it's like the boat is docking inside the castle. That was an awesome touch to really build on the fact that you're technically supposed to be in a castle. And the way they just made it feel more regal inside of there, like you're actually in a castle building. It's something I really appreciate. It's something they didn't have to do. They decided to do it, and I think that's great. And also, speaking of being inside, the new theme music that you hear inside the loading station, as well as the lift hill. That music is actually really cool. One thing Busch Gardens has done really well is the music for the rides. If you're talking about Pantheon, you're talking about Invader, which you hear more often. And then you have the tracks like Apollo's Chariot, which you hear sometimes. And Griffin, it has one. I haven't heard it in years. I love that touch. It's another touch they don't have to do because a lot of people are not really going to notice it. But it's something they do to really immerse yourself into that ride experience. I think that was great. And now there's actual load in and load out voiceovers. You didn't get that before. It was just whoever was operating the coaster, which was always cool. You know, you always like to see how they kind of do the banter back and forth, and it still happens, and that's really nice. And it's actually seemed to be variable. It actually seemed to be different ones in a rotation, so that was cool too. So you don't always get the same one every time. Like for Bolton, burned into my brain. Obviously. But see, now we've gone this far. We haven't talked about the ride, the actual ride, because of how much they've just put into this. Also, one more thing I gotta mention about the queue line, the little communication center. The little communication center, that little part they took out and they put the table there with all the old radios and chairs and more artifacts, and you hear something try to come through the radio. Great theming piece. They didn't have to add, but they did. When they announced this, the one thing that we really wanted, was something in the cave. And fix up the track, maybe just repaint the track. But they went through, redid the entire queue line of the main queue line, not the extended queue, but the main queue, redid a good percent of the track, repainted the track, and then did the in-cave effects, got an actual physical Loch Ness monster, did music, had people come in and do some voiceover stuff. The amount of stuff they did for refurbishment is insane. And Busch Gardens deserves their props and just a lot of kudos for what they pulled off. But anyway, let's talk about the ride itself. So when you leave the station, obviously you got the little outhouse there where you hear the people on the expedition talking to each other, and you see the Loch Ness monster destroyed one of the trains. I think that was a nice touch. Then you go up to lift hill and you hear them communicating back and forth. You really can't make out what they're saying because the lift hill is still as loud as ever. It's the thought that counts. So then you go through the drop, and the one thing I noticed from the very first few seconds, and if you hear on the Patreon extended cut, you hear my reaction on my first ride, just that first drop, I was like, oh, this is so much smoother. And I've seen some people say the ride is rougher than it was before, and they didn't notice a whole lot of differences. What ride did you ride? You didn't ride Loch Ness Monster as it currently is. It was immediately smoother. Now, will it jerk you around a little bit? Depends on where you sit. There was sometimes I would sit, and when you go at that first turn after the drop, it does whip your head a little bit. But that was the only time I really felt it whip my head. With the ride, it typically would do it a lot more. So for it to only be one time where it really did it, I thought that was good. And then the second drop is really cool. And one thing I love about Loch Ness Monster is the old school nature of the loops. The trains take their time going through that loop. It's not like a quick loop like on Griffin or something where, you're through it really quick. No, this one, it is slow and you are just watching and you see the other side of the train as you're going under it and you're like, this is awesome. But then was the moment we all were waiting for, the moment where we got to see the cave for the first time. And oh my goodness, from the get-go, you see the blue, the green, the purple hue lights, and you hear the sounds of the Loch Ness Monster fighting around you, like near misses, and then you're introduced to the first LED screen, and you see it, like you're feet away from the Loch Ness Monster. Now, I was worried, because I had a feeling it was going to be LED screens. I said for a while I believed it was going to be LED screens, and this was the first time Busch Gardens had done that on a thrill ride of any kind, like Dark Coaster's projection. So this was the first time we were getting screens of something. I was worried if you're so close, is it like being so close to a TV screen where you see more like the red, blue, green colors than the actual picture itself? And no, you don't. You see the Loch Ness Monster right in your face, which is nice with the new modern LED screens, is that the pixels are so small that, yeah, you can see the pixels as you come around, but you still see the image in the video. The best place to sit is on the right side, because the right side, the screens on the right side are like a couple feet away from you, and it separates you a couple feet from the ones on the left. So even though you can still see the screens from the left side, you see them much better, and you see really what is happening in the image better if you're on the right side. And then right before you leave, the monster comes right at you, and you see it in its full glory. Kind of how back in the day there was the mural that was there, and you'd see like the whole Loch Ness monster in his face right as you were leaving the cave. This is like full CGI shots of the monster. This isn't like 2D cartoon. This is 3D CGI coming at you. Like that little bit you see in the end of that commercial, that's what you're getting. That's what you're getting. It's a little bit brighter. And the last couple times I rode it, the monster seemed to be a little bit behind coming after you. Now, there's two possibilities here. Now, the park president did say they're still working out the timing in the cave. So that's one, the timing could still be off. Matt from Theme Park Stories, we had a theory. He actually came up with it. And it was, maybe it's varied. Maybe it's varied on how the monster presents itself to you, so it's not the same every time. Like sometimes you'll see it better, sometimes you'll just see it start to come towards you. I would like it if it's actually more varied, but who knows? We'll know as we get to opening, because I feel like they're still tweaking it minorly after they open it, but when we ride it Friday, it's pretty much how it's going to be. And you leave the cave, and you go on the second lift hill. And on the second lift hill, another awesome touch. Like we expected something on the first lift hill, but not on the second. And on the second lift hill, you're getting more communication from the team members on the exhibition. And then you go to the last drop, and then you go into the Loch Ness Monster Expedition building as you go back into the station, where you hear someone from the expedition is like, "Oh, you glad you made it back. Did you see the monster inside there?" That was terrible accent. I'm sorry. And then you see the banner said, "Welcome back. Did you see the monster?" This cool little add-ons. Even though I haven't seen the monster yet, you know, they already killed it. And from what I gather, from the little bit I've seen of the monster, it looks awesome. And from people that have seen the monster, it's really good. So I'm just interested to see if it moves or not. No one has said yay or nay either way. So I'm very interested. I'd be happy even if it doesn't move, if it just like spit water on you, Jurassic Park style. I would have been all right with that. I think that'd be a cool add-on. Now here's the other side. Here's the flip side to that, and I want to touch on briefly. I have talked so many times about the theming of Busch Gardens. This ride has shown when they want to, they're just as good with their theming as they were years ago. You have now set your bar really high for theming. Pantheon, you had an all-time low. Like, you set the bar really low for what had to happen. And then you had Dark Coaster, which already had a building. You took some steps up. It wasn't perfect, but it was better with your theming. And then you have this. In my opinion, it is the perfect theming for this ride, because it was already good. You didn't really have to do a whole lot more to it, but you decided to. Busch Gardens decided to, and then for that, I am grateful. I am thankful. Round of applause. But now they have set an expectation for themselves, so that we know they can theme, which is nice. It was like a reminder, oh yeah, we know how to do it still. We're still good at it. Let's just repeat the process on the new rides, but not take this one for granted for how much work and care that they put into this conservation of this ride. They clearly care about this ride. They want to keep it going for future generations. I'm super glad that they're keeping it going for future generations, and that's what I told the president. I was just so thankful for them keeping up the old stuff, not just tearing it down and replacing it with the new, because they could do it, and shareholders would love it if they did, but they didn't. And for that, I am thankful. I am grateful. So my review for Loch Ness Monster, it has changed for me from just an average coaster that is really good to one of the coasters I will run to. Like Loch Ness Monster before was a ride where if I'm not able to ride it, that's fine. I'll skip it today. I can't do that. I want to ride Loch Ness Monster. I have become so dedicated to the Loch Ness Monster stuff over the past couple months, and now with the ride actually being successful and actually being really good, I just love it. I just love it, and I love what they've done with it. And I can't wait for you guys, if you haven't ridden it yet, to ride it whenever you get to the park. I'll be there again Friday for the opening ceremony, hopefully. If you have ridden a ride, let me know what you think about the ride down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed. Make sure to hit that bell button down below so notified every single time I upload a brand new video to the channel. Make sure to go check out the Patreon, where there are extended vlogs of my recent Busch Gardens vlogs. And this Friday, there will be an extended cut going to the Patreon on Monday when the vlog drops. So I love doing these extended vlogs. It gives me an opportunity to tell more personal stories and really just talk more to you guys in there, and what a YouTube cut needs to move a little faster. So thank you guys for watching. Announcing something tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited for this announcement tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Will Morrison. I'm out. Peace.